What up, guys? So here's what happened. The 2022 Storm Shadow, I did not rough it up, but I handled it pretty well. But the nunchucks, both of them broke. Just sitting there around straight and they broke. Very disappointing because the whole purpose for me to acquire those was to not have to worry about handling them. So the plan was, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a chain there. So Micromark sells all kinds of miniature chains for modeling purposes. They have them in plastics, in metal, brass, steel, you name it. So I happen to have in my hands this little black chain that was about the same size of the molded one. So the plan was to carve the stock handles, feed the chain through, and then secure it to the brass wire. Well, what happened is the new material here, this is a vintage sword, this is the reproduction. You can tell that the detail is not as crisp. And you might have seen to the feel that the new weapons are really soft, all of them. So this is my first observation today after trying to work. I tried to heat it low, heat it high, drill it slow, drill it fast. This material is junk. It's usually the weapons are polypropylene. It's a thermoplastic, meaning you can gently heat it up, shape it, and it sets. It always hardens and it regains all its properties. This material, I suspect, is not true PP, or it's a cheap grade kind. Probably saving $1 or $2, but you notice it's got a matte finish, unlike traditional PP has a gloss finish. Maybe it's done on purpose on the mold. Who knows? Notice how the detail is not as crisply molded, maybe done on purpose, who knows. But here's my experience from working with it. It loses its property when you heat it up. It doesn't set, it's too soft, it's too weak, and it's got a papery feel. So it was very difficult, if not impossible, to work with. I've worked with PP in the past. Typically, you can heat it up, shape it, distort them, drill them, not too fast, not too slow. There's ways we can work with, like heat up a pin, go through. This material is just junk and out of scale. So I decided to get rid of it, and I retrieved some vintage sprues, and I was looking for something about the size of the vintage nunchuck. So I found something that was decent, cut it up, used a soldering iron to carve it in, because drilling, it gets all gummy and weird. Clean it up with a drill, and then I use a brass wire to secure the chain inside the handle. So the reason why I don't put, it's easy to just fix the chain on the outside, but it doesn't rotate properly. So just like a real nunchuck, it's better if the chain feeds all the way in there, and this way the rotation is unhindered when you swing it. So here's the finished product. Just messed up on the length, and also think that I'll try to stick to the toy proportion, but I think the nunchuck should be a little longer, but anyway, you tell me what you think. So a couple of options. I think the next one I'm going to do is to use a braided string that has the same thickness as the stock, because the string has memory, so you could play better. This one has realistic physics, but it's it's loose. As you see, it's a little too short compared to the stock one. But yeah, I tried. So I'm happy with it. I won't have to worry about it breaking. It's secured by brass pin and not glue. So you have to really break it. It's made of good old-fashioned American-made polypropylene that came from our vehicles. The stuff is strong, despite being 30 years old, or who knows. It retains its very good plastic properties. But this, I'm very disappointed. The new material, I've noticed on the guns and all kinds of things, this new material is junk. I'm a bit disappointed with it. So, hey, gotta take what we have. We're happy for the figures, but this is a disappointment. Again, look at the difference. It's not workable. I might come next with make a bow, because this bow is too soft, doesn't hold well. The stock one, the vintage one, we were afraid of breaking it. So what they've done here is they made it thicker, but it loses all resolution. Like the string looks the same of the bow. It's poorly executed. Funny that nobody had a ZBrush when they did this. But anyway, so I might make a better bow. It needs to be stiffer. The string can be soft, but the bow needs to be stiff. Anyway, here's the update. A little thingy. It kind of sucks to have a brand new figure that I say, yeah, it's white, I can bash it around, and then the nunchuck's broke. So there you have it. And I did mention on Facebook, I think, an old idea which was to motorize the nunchuk on quick kick. So how, let's see if I have the parts, is I found a while back a tiny motor, which I've lost now. And what I wanted to do is make kind of like Ninja Turtles. I wanted to carve his arm, put a battery in there, and have a permanently attached nunchuk in his hand. So the trick is to find a motor that looks like a fake nunchuk. So not too big that it looks out of whack, but maybe like 3 or 4 millimeter or so. 4 millimeter actually, that's the size of the motor, painted black. And install it in the hand, a battery in the arm, and it would be kind of cool to have a motorized, with a chain of course, a motorized nunchuk, so you know, that would be a little feature. That's an old project I had on the side. I got to retrieve the motor. To give you an idea, here's a chuck, right, to say, okay, till what size can I put a motor in there that doesn't look weird? If it's too big, it's weird, but if it looks like a chubby nunchuk, maybe we're okay. Anyway, that's just a project I'm sharing around here. For now, I'm happy with this one, and the idea of making another one with a braided string so it would hold its memory a little better and you could bend it better than the molded plastic. That's the solution, so I'll get to it. Just a word of how I'm doing this. It's actually very difficult to do, is to feed the chain inside the hole of the handle. So once I carve a handle, feeding a chain is difficult because the link collapses. So it's very difficult. Inserting the brass wire is easy, and then brass being soft, you can squash one end so it doesn't come out. And then when it's all together, what I do is I use pliers and squeeze it to make the ovaloid shape similar to the stock one. The wire might be easier to feed through. And then to secure the wire, we're going to have to use glue. I don't like it, but the trick is that if the glue propagates on the braided wire, it's going to stiffen it. So the glue has to stay at the bottom. Ideally would be to drill the handle all the way through, feed the wire through, either put a knot or put glue just at the bottom so that the string stays free of glue, so it can be really flexible. For production, that's something they can do if fans really come first, is you could actually mold the nunchuk with a string inside. What they do is they place a string in the mold, shoot it, and it will be co-mold so the string can never escape. They do it, I've seen even like little tanks when they mold strings in it instead of pins. So it's articulated. So this nunchuk could be molded with a braided string inside, and it'd be great because you would not break it and it would be flexible. You would have enough memory that you could pose it just like this, but you could also bend it back and forth and never ever worry about breaking. All right, there you have it.